Welcome to Lyra Echo Stories, where every story echoes emotions, memories, and hidden truths. Step in and feel the echo of every tale.
My sister walked through my front door on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying 3 suitcases and a child on each hip. She did not call. She did not knock. She stood in my living room, looked around like she was pricing furniture, and said, "I want the master bedroom for Lily." I was standing in the kitchen holding a coffee mug I had bought with my own money in a house I had paid for with 15 years of my life, so I poured her a cup, and I said, "Sure, pick any room you want." Bridget set the kids down. Lily, 7, walked straight to the hallway and started opening doors. Jack, 4, sat on my couch and stared at me like I was a substitute teacher he had not been warned about. Fair enough. I had not seen either of them since Christmas, and Christmas had been brief. "Keith and I are done," Bridget said, pulling her jacket off and draping it over the back of my dining chair. She said stability the way some people say organic. Like it was a brand she had recently discovered. The coffee was still warm. "How long are you thinking?" "However long it takes." I did not ask what it would take. I already knew more than she thought I did. 3 days more, to be exact. But she did not need to know that yet. My name is Wren. I am 37 years old, and I have lived in this house in Durham, North Carolina for 15 years. 180 mortgage payments. Every cent mine. That is what I used to say. Every cent mine. I said it to the loan officer when I made the last payment. I said it to Erwin when he moved his toolbox into my hallway 6 months ago. I said it to myself every time I stripped wallpaper, or patched drywall, or replaced a faucet with my own 2 hands. 3 days before my sister walked through that door, I was pulling tile off the bathroom wall. Renovation job, nothing dramatic. I design interiors for a living, and my own bathroom had been last on the list for 8 years. I swung the hammer, and a chunk of plaster came loose, and behind it, tucked into the gap between the studs like someone had placed it there on purpose, was a manila envelope. I am going to tell you what was inside that envelope. But not yet. Because what matters right now is that I read it. I read every word, and then I put it back in the wall, covered the hole with a piece of cardboard, and went to bed. I did not sleep. Lily appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Mama says the room at the end of the hall is biggest." "It is. She says that one is for me and Jack." "That is the guest room," I said. "It has new curtains." Lily looked at me with the seriousness of a child who has recently learned that adults do not always tell the truth. "Mama says we might be here for a while." "Your mama says a lot of things." Lily considered this. Then she wandered down the hall toward the bathroom. Her footsteps stopped. The door was open, and the wall was still torn apart. Plaster dust on the floor, cardboard taped over the hole where the envelope had been. "Did a monster live in there?" she called. "Something like that," I said. Bridget was already upstairs. Closet doors opened and closed. Water ran in the bathroom, stopped, ran again. She was testing the pressure, doing whatever people do when they walk into someone else's home and start measuring it for themselves. She had always been like this. At family dinners, she would rearrange the centerpiece before sitting down. At my college graduation, she told me my cap was crooked. Not mean, just certain. Bridget moved through the world with the absolute confidence of someone who believed that her version of any room was better than the one she found. Our mother had been the same way. The mug went upside down on the rack. The counter got wiped. These small things, these rituals of a house that answers only to you. 15 years of paint swatches and pipe fittings, and Saturday mornings with the windows open and no one asking me for anything. There is a spare key hanging on a hook by the front door. Brass, a little tarnished. It went up the day I moved in, and it has never left that hook for anyone. Not my mother, when she was alive. Not Erwin, even though his toolbox sits in my hallway. Not Bridget. Especially not Bridget. My phone buzzed. "Erwin, want me to come over?" My fingers typed back. "Not yet. Need to see something first." He did not ask what. Erwin is a carpenter. He understands that some walls you knock down on purpose, and some walls you leave standing until you know what is behind them. He would wait. Bridget came back downstairs. She had changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt, which meant she had already unpacked at least one suitcase. She opened my fridge, pulled out the orange juice, and drank straight from the carton. "You still have Mama's curtains in the guest room," she said, wiping her mouth. "I thought you would have changed everything by now." "I changed what needed changing." She looked at me. Really looked. Searching for something. Anger, maybe. Or permission. I gave her neither. I just stood there in my kitchen, in my house, with the envelope 3 days old in my memory and the plaster dust still on the bathroom floor, and I smiled. "Welcome home, Bridget," I said. She smiled back. She had no idea. Outside, the sun was going down behind the oak tree. I had trimmed myself last October. The porch light came on, the one I had wired after watching a tutorial at 2 in the morning. My house, my wiring, my light. But somewhere behind a piece of cardboard in the bathroom wall, there was a letter that said otherwise. And in 3 days, my sister was going to find out that every story our mother ever told us was a lie. Both of them. 3 days earlier, on a Saturday morning, the house was quiet and the bathroom was a disaster. Dust mask on, safety glasses, hammer in hand. The tile had been ugly since the day the previous owner installed it, a shade of green that belonged in a dentist's office from 1982. 8 years of staring at that tile, 8 years of telling myself next month, and finally the hammer came down. The first row came off clean. The second cracked along the grout. The third is where everything changed. Behind the tile, behind the backerboard, tucked between the wall studs in a space no larger than a shoebox, was a manila envelope. Yellowed at the edges, sealed with tape that had gone brittle, and on the front, in handwriting that made my chest lock up before my brain caught up, 2 words. Varen. My mother's handwriting. My mother, who had been dead for 8 years. The envelope had been in the wall since before the tile went up. Maybe since before the backer board. Maybe since the day my mother helped me move in, when she spent 3 hours in this bathroom with a level and a pencil, marking where the towel bar should go. She had hidden it here. On purpose. In a wall she knew someone would eventually open. The letter inside was 2 pages. Her handwriting, neat at the top, looser toward the bottom like she had been writing fast or crying or both. What it said is something that rearranged every fact of my adult life. But the detail that mattered most, the line that made me set the letter down on the edge of the bathtub, kinda sit on the floor for 20 minutes, was this. The down payment on my house did not come from my savings alone. 40% of it came from an account my mother controlled. Money she never told me about. Money that, according to the letter, came from my father. My father. Warren Calloway, the man who walked out when Bridget was 11 and I was 14. The man whose name my mother spoke the way people speak about weather damage. Something that happened, left a mess, moved on. Have you ever been proud of something your whole life, and then discovered one detail that made you question all of it? 15 years, 180 payments, every cent mine, except the first 40%, except the foundation. Saturday night, after reading the letter twice more, after putting it back in the wall and covering the hole with cardboard, after showering in the other bathroom because this one had become a crime scene in my mind, I sat at the kitchen table and made a list. What the letter claimed. What could be verified. Where to start. Monday morning, 9:15, the Durham branch of First Mutual. The loan officer was young, maybe 25, with a name tag that said Terrence. He pulled up the original mortgage file from 15 years ago and turned the screen toward me. "Here is the initial deposit," he said. "And here is the source account for the remaining balance of the down payment." The number on screen was not small, and the account it came from was not mine. "Whose account is that?" My voice was level. Terrence did not know he was participating in the unraveling of my entire identity. He was just doing his job. Looks like it was a third-party transfer. From a Loretta Calloway. My mother? Terrence scrolled down. There is also some co-signer paperwork in the original file. Would you like copies? Co-signer. My mother had co-signed. 15 years ago, when the mortgage officer asked me to sign the papers, my mother sat next to me in a navy blazer and smiled and said, "This is all you, sweetheart." And somewhere in the fine print, her name was there too. "Yes," I said. "Copies of everything." The drive home took 11 minutes. Normally it takes 8. The extra 3 were spent sitting in the parking lot of a Walgreens, engine running, staring at a folder full of paper that proved my mother was a liar. Not a bad person. That is the part that made it worse. Not bad, just a liar. A precise, organized, loving liar who hid an envelope in a wall and co-signed a mortgage in secret and told her daughter every cent is yours, knowing it was not. The house was quiet when I got back. Bridget had not arrived yet. That would come Tuesday. The bathroom was still torn apart. The cardboard was still taped over the hole. The letter was still behind it. On the kitchen counter, next to the fruit bowl, sat my mother's jewelry box. Rosewood, brass hinges, a small scratch on the lid from when Bridget knocked it off the dresser in 2006. After the funeral, nobody wanted it. Bridget said it was too sad. The cousins said, "Give it to Goodwill," so it came home with me, and it had sat on that counter for 8 years, and I had never opened it. Not once. Standing there, keys still in my hand, bank folder on the table, I looked at that box, the way you look at a door you have walked past 1,000 times and suddenly realize might be unlocked. My hand reached out, then stopped. Not yet. That night, Erwin came over. We ate takeout on the porch. He talked about a cabinet job in Chapel Hill. Some client who wanted walnut but could only afford pine. Normal things. Good things. The kind of evening that makes you forget there is a letter in your bathroom wall that changes the math on your entire life. "You are quiet tonight," he said. "Thinking about walls." He nodded. Erwin does not push. He builds things and he waits for the wood to tell him what it wants to be. It is the quality that made me trust him in the first place. Some people fill silence with noise. Erwin fills it with patience. "Some walls," I said, "you knock down on purpose. And some walls, it turns out, were never yours to begin with." He looked at me for a long time. Then he picked up his chopsticks and said, "Sounds like a Tuesday problem." It was Saturday. Tuesday was 3 days away. He did not know how right he was. Tuesday night. Bridget was asleep in the guest room with both kids tucked against her like sandbags in a flood. The house was quiet in that specific way. A house gets quiet when it has too many people in it, and all of them are pretending things are fine. I sat on the back porch with my phone in my hand for 11 minutes before I dialed. The number was saved under Warren. Not Dad, not Father, just Warren. The way you might save the name of a plumber who came once and did an okay job. It rang 4 times. A woman answered. Phyllis, his wife. His second wife, to be accurate, though my mother would have said his real wife and I are the ones he left behind. "Wren?" Phyllis sounded surprised but not alarmed. She had the voice of someone who expected the world to occasionally deliver complications and had decided long ago to handle them with tea and directness. "It is late, honey. Is everything all right?" "Fine. Could I speak to Warren?" A pause. The sound of a television being muted. Footsteps. Then his voice, careful and thin. The way voices get when someone calls who has not called in a very long time. "Wren. Warren." Neither of us said anything for a few seconds. Somewhere in Roanoke, Virginia, my father was standing in a hallway in his socks, and somewhere in Durham, North Carolina, I was sitting on a porch my mother helped me paint, and between us, there were 4 hours of highway and 22 years of a story I was beginning to suspect had been told wrong. "I found something in the house," I said. "In the bathroom wall." He did not ask who her was. There was only one her in this family. "What did it say?" "You tell me." Another silence. Longer this time. Somewhere behind him, a cabinet opened. A kettle touched a burner. Phyllis, standing close enough to catch him if the conversation knocked something loose. Wren. Your mother made me promise. She is dead, Warren. She has been dead for 8 years. Her promises expired. That landed hard. Good. It was meant to. He took a breath. Not a deep one. More like a man surfacing after holding himself underwater for a very long time. The down payment, he said. 40%. It came from me. There it was. The same thing the letter said. The same thing the bank records showed. But hearing it from his mouth, in his voice, with Phyllis probably standing 3 feet away, made it land differently. Paper is one thing. A father's voice confirming that your entire foundation was a lie is something else. Why? Because your mother asked me to. That is not an answer. It is the only one I have. He paused. She caught me. You know that part. The affair. One time, one woman. One terrible night that I spent 22 years paying for. Your mother said she wanted me out. She said if I left quietly, she would not tell you girls the details. She said all I had to do was pay. Pay what? 40% of the house, plus monthly support. The checks went to her account, not yours. She handled everything. She told me it would be better that way. Cleaner, cleaner. My mother loved that word. A clean house, a clean break, a clean story. Everything tucked away and wiped down so nobody could see the mess underneath. And the monthly checks. I said. How long? Until she died. 8 years of mortgage plus 8 years before that. 16 years of checks. Give or take. To her account. Yes. And she told me I was doing this alone. He did not respond to that. He did not need to. We both understood what had happened. My mother had taken his money, filtered it through her own accounts, and handed me a mortgage with the words, "Every cent is yours" on her lips, and a cosigner form hidden in the filing cabinet. There is more, he said, and his voice changed, got quieter like he was moving to another room, like Phyllis could not hear this part. I also sent money to Bridget. The porch creaked under me, wind through the oak tree, a dog barking 2 houses over. Normal sounds. Everything normal except the sentence I had just heard. You sent money to Bridget. Every month. Through your mother. Same account. Your mother told Bridget it was savings, money she had set aside over the years. Bridget never knew it came from me. So, Bridget, who showed up at my door with 3 suitcases and the confidence of someone who believed she had been surviving on her own. Bridget, who said Keith and I are done like she was the first woman in history to walk away from a bad marriage. Bridget, whose mother had been quietly funding her independence with money from the father Bridget believed had abandoned them both. Does Bridget know? I asked. No. Your mother said it was better if neither of you knew. Better, cleaner, every cent mine. The vocabulary of a woman who believed that controlling the story was the same as telling the truth. Warren. Yes? How many letters did she write? The silence that followed was different from the others. Not guilty, not careful, afraid. Your mother wrote letters to everyone, he said. Her sister, the neighbor, her college friend, me, you. Each one said something a little different. She had versions, Wren, versions of the truth for every person who mattered to her. Versions. Like software updates. Like each person in my mother's life was running a different operating system, and she was the only one with the source code. I should have told you, he said. Years ago. After she died. After the funeral. Every birthday I called, I almost said it. Every single one. But you did not. No. Because she asked you not to. Because I owed her. And because I was afraid you would hate me more for the truth than for the silence. I looked at the back door. Through the glass I could see the hallway. Bridget's jacket on the chair. Lily's shoes by the stairs. Jack's sippy cup on the counter. The one with the dinosaur lid. Next to my mother's jewelry box. I do not hate you, Warren, I said. And it was true, which surprised me. Hate requires certainty. Right now I had nothing but questions. I am not ready to talk about this more, I said. Not tonight. Okay. But Warren. Yes? You should know that Bridget is here. In the house. She arrived today with her kids. She thinks this house is partly hers because of a letter our mother wrote her. A different letter. With a different version of the truth. Silence. Oh, Loretta, he whispered. Not to me. To her. To the ghost of a woman who had managed to start a war between her daughters from inside a bathroom wall. I hung up. Set the phone face down on the porch railing. Sat there for a long time. Inside the house, the hallway light was still on. Bridget had left it on for the kids, probably. She always left lights on. Our mother used to scold her for it. Electricity costs money, Bridget. Turn it off. As if the light bill was the thing that mattered most. As if all the things left on in this family were bulbs and not lies. Tomorrow I would sit across from my sister at breakfast. She would pour cereal for her kids and drink my orange juice straight from the carton and talk about school districts like she planned to stay forever. And I would smile. And I would watch. And I would decide exactly when to open the envelope. Because the question was no longer what my mother had done. The question was how much my sister already knew. Wednesday morning. Bridget made pancakes. Not asked. Not offered. Just stood in my kitchen at 7:15 with flour on her wrist and a spatula in her hand, flipping circles onto the cast iron pan like she had been doing it here for years. Jack sat at the table drawing something with crayons. Lily was reading a chapter book, lips moving silently, one sock on and one sock off. You alphabetized your spices, Bridget said, gesturing toward the rack above the stove with the spatula. Who alphabetizes spices? People who own kitchens. She laughed. A real laugh, not the polished kind she used at family gatherings. For a moment she looked exactly like the girl who used to steal frosting off birthday cakes when our mother was not looking. Bridget at 11. Bridget before everything got complicated. The pancakes were good, better than mine. She used vanilla extract and a pinch of cinnamon, which is something our mother used to do, and which neither of us ever mentioned, because mentioning it would mean talking about her, and talking about her had been something we avoided, with the precision of two people, stepping around the same crack in the sidewalk for 8 years. Wren, Bridget said, setting a plate in front of me. Can we talk about the house? Okay. Not now. She glanced at the kids. Lily was pretending to read, but her eyes had stopped moving. Children hear everything. Tonight. After they are in bed. Tonight works. She smiled. Grateful and careful and just slightly too confident, the way someone smiles when they believe they are about to present a winning hand. The day passed. Bridget took the kids to the park on Gear Street. She came back with popsicle stains on Jack's shirt and a library card application for Lily. She was building a life here, not visiting. Building, hanging towels on hooks, memorizing which drawer held the scissors, asking the neighbor about recycling pickup days. Every small act was a brick, and every brick said the same thing. This is not temporary. Erwin stopped by after lunch, brought a sanding block for the bathroom trim, stood in the hallway with sawdust on his boots, and looked at Bridget's 3 pairs of shoes lined up by the door. She is settling in, he said quietly. She thinks she has a reason to. Does she? That was the question. The question behind every question. Did Bridget have a reason? My mother's letter said yes. The bank records said maybe. The mortgage I had paid for 15 years said absolutely not. But somewhere in between all of that was a truth I had not yet been able to name, and tonight I was going to find out how close my sister could get to it. 8:45. Kids asleep. Bridget came downstairs with a glass of water and sat across from me at the dining table. The overhead light was too bright for this kind of conversation, so I had turned it off and left only the lamp in the corner. Softer. The kind of light that lets people say things they would not say under fluorescence. When Mama died, Bridget began, turning the glass slowly in her hands, she left me something. The jewelry box went to me, I said. Neutral. Testing. Not the jewelry box. A letter. My chest did something quiet and violent at the same time. like a door closing in a room you did not know was open. She wrote it before she got sick, or maybe right after the diagnosis, before the treatment started. She gave it to me sealed, told me not to open it until I needed it. Bridget looked down. Keith leaving felt like needing it. What did the letter say? Bridget stood up, walked to the guest room, and came back with a folded piece of paper. Same stationery as the one in the wall. Same handwriting. Same blue ink. 2 letters from the same woman, written to 2 different daughters, hidden in 2 different places. She unfolded it on the table and pushed it toward me. The letter was 1 page, shorter than mine. The handwriting was tighter, more controlled, like our mother had rehearsed what she wanted to say before committing it to paper. Most of it was what you would expect from a mother writing to her younger daughter. Be strong. Trust yourself. The house is always there for you. But the last paragraph stopped me cold. Your sister and I made an arrangement years ago. She knows about it. She agreed that the house would always be a safe place for both of us. If you ever need to come home, come. The door is open. That was always the deal. Your sister knows. She agreed. No, I did not. There was no arrangement. There was no deal. There was no agreement. There was a woman hiding an envelope in a bathroom wall and another envelope in her daughter's bedside drawer, telling each girl a different story, making each one believe the other was in on it. Bridget was watching my face. You knew, she said. Right? Mama said you knew. The honest answer would have ended the conversation right there. The honest answer was, your mother lied to you, and she lied to me, and she lied to everyone, and the only person who had all the versions was a dead woman who hid the truth inside walls. But something stopped me. Not fear, not strategy. Something older and harder to name. The look on my sister's face. The look of someone who had driven 300 miles with 2 children and 3 suitcases on the strength of a dead woman's promise, and who was now sitting in a lamplight kitchen, asking the only question that mattered to her. Did you know? We will talk about it, I said. Tomorrow. All of it. But tonight, I need to think. Bridget searched my face. Whatever she found there was enough. She nodded, picked up her glass, and went upstairs. The house settled around me. Pipes cooling, floorboards adjusting. The sounds a house makes when it is digesting the weight of the people inside it. I walked to the bathroom. Stood in the doorway. The renovation was still half done. Tile off the lower wall, backer board exposed, cardboard taped over the hole where the envelope had been. My tools on the floor, a level propped against the vanity. The room smelled like plaster dust and old wood and the faint ghost of my mother's lavender soap, which was impossible because that soap had been gone for 8 years, but grief does strange things to your nose. Here is what hit me standing in that doorway, and here is what changed everything. My mother built a story. She told me, I did it alone. She told Bridget, the door is always open. She told my father, pay and be silent. She told each of us exactly what we needed to hear to play the role she had assigned, and every one of us played it perfectly. For 22 years, and standing in that gutted bathroom, looking at the hole in the wall where her letter had been hiding, I saw it, clear as a load-bearing stud behind rotten drywall. I was doing the same thing, every cent mine. That was my version, my story. The one I told the loan officer and Erwin and myself every morning when I sanded a floor or rewired a switch. The story of the woman who built it all alone. And it was a lie. Not a big lie, not a cruel lie, but a lie shaped exactly like my mother's lies. Comfortable, flattering, just true enough to believe. My mother controlled the story, and here I was, standing in her house, controlling mine. At what point does keeping a secret to protect someone become keeping a secret to protect yourself? I pulled the cardboard off the wall, took the envelope out, sat on the bathroom floor with my back against the tub, and read my mother's letter one more time. Then I took a blank sheet from my drafting table, found a pen, and in my own handwriting underneath her words, I wrote one line. Tomorrow, the envelope would go on the table. Tomorrow, my sister would read it. Tomorrow, the story my mother built would come apart, and whatever was left standing would have to be real. No versions. No arrangements that never happened. No doors left open by dead women who had no right to promise them. Just the truth. Both of them. All of them. However many there turned out to be. Thursday. The envelope sat on my drafting table all morning like a grenade with the pin half pulled. Bridget spent the morning at the kitchen table with her laptop, searching apartments in the Durham area, or at least that is what her screen showed. The tab behind it, the one she thought I could not see when I walked past with my coffee, was a legal advice forum. The search bar read, "Can a verbal promise from a deceased parent be enforced regarding property?" She was not just settling in, she was building a case. By noon my decision was made. Not because of the laptop, because of something smaller. Bridget had moved the fruit bowl from the counter to the table. A small thing. The kind of thing a guest would never do. The kind of thing a person does when they believe the kitchen is theirs. Lily and Jack went to the neighbor's house after lunch. The neighbor, a retired woman named June, who had taken to Bridget's kids with the urgency of a grandmother who lived too far from her own grandchildren, had offered to teach Lily how to make friendship bracelets. Bridget accepted before I could weigh in. The house emptied. 2 chairs, 1 table, 1 envelope. "Sit down," I said. Bridget sat. She was wearing one of my sweaters, the gray cashmere one Erwin had given me last Christmas. She had not asked to borrow it. She probably did not realize it was mine. Or she did, and it did not occur to her that wearing someone else's clothes without asking was a kind of language. "Before I show you something," I said, "I need you to tell me the truth. The whole truth. Not the version you rehearsed. Not the version you think will work. The real one. The truth about what? About what Mama promised you? About why you are really here? About what you think you are entitled to?" The word entitled landed like a slap. Her jaw tightened. Good. Tight jaws produce honest answers. "Mama wrote me a letter," Bridget said. "Before she died, she told me this house would always be a safe place for both of us. She said you knew about the arrangement. She said you agreed." "What arrangement, exactly?" "That the house was for both her daughters, that you would keep it, maintain it, pay the mortgage, and that if I ever needed to come home, the door would be open. She said it was understood between you two. She said it was the deal." Bridget said the deal with the same weight a lawyer uses for the contract. As if the words of a dead woman, written on stationery, hidden in a drawer, constituted something binding. As if a promise whispered between a mother and a daughter in a hospital room could override 15 years of mortgage payments and property tax, and leaky faucets fixed at midnight. "And you believed her," I said. "She was my mother." Of course, I believed her. Fair. Cruel, but fair. Because I had believed her, too. Different letter. Different lie. Same woman. "Okay," I said. My turn. The envelope was under the table, on my lap, where I had placed it before she sat down. I brought it up and set it between us. Manila. Yellowed. The same stationery as hers. The same blue ink on the front. "For Ren. I found this in the bathroom wall," I said, 3 days before you arrived. Bridget looked at the envelope. Then at me. Then at the envelope again. Her hand did not move toward it. Smart girl. She already sensed that whatever was inside was going to rearrange the furniture of her entire argument. "Open it," I said. She opened it. Inside, my mother's letter. 2 pages, same handwriting, same blue ink, written to me. Behind it, 3 bank transfer receipts from 15 years ago, showing a deposit from Loretta Calloway's account into the mortgage escrow. And behind those, 1 sheet of paper from my drafting pad, with 1 line in my handwriting. Mom paid 40%. I paid 15 years. And Mom never told me. Bridget read the letter first. Her eyes moved slowly, left to right, top to bottom. Halfway through the first page, Her breathing changed. By the bottom of the second page, she had gone pale. Not dramatic pale, not soap opera pale. The kind of pale that comes from the inside out, when the blood retreats from the surface because the body needs it somewhere more important. She set the letter down, picked up the bank receipts, looked at the numbers, looked at the name on the source account, looked at me. Mama paid for part of the house, 40% of the down payment. The rest came from my savings. The mortgage, all 180 payments came from me. But she told me you did it alone. She told me every cent was yours. She told me that too. Bridget stared at the receipts. Her fingers pressed flat against the paper like she was trying to keep it from floating away. And this line, she said, touching my handwriting at the bottom. You wrote this. Last night. You read my letter? You showed it to me. No, I showed it to you to prove that Mama made a promise. You are using it to prove she was a liar. Both things can be true, Bridget. Silence. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a lawnmower started up 2 houses down. Normal sounds in a room where nothing was normal anymore. Your letter says I knew, I said. That I agreed to an arrangement. Bridget, look at me. She looked. I did not know. I did not agree. There was no arrangement. There was no deal. There was a woman who wrote 2 letters to 2 daughters, and told each one a different story. The sentence hung in the air between us. I watched it hit her. Not all at once, in stages. First confusion, then denial, quick and sharp, a flash across her forehead like heat lightning. Then the slow, terrible arithmetic of someone recalculating every decision they have made in the last 6 months based on a single new variable. She came here because of that letter. She drove 300 miles. She pulled her children out of their school. She walked into my house and picked rooms and drank my orange juice and wore my sweater because a dead woman told her she had a right to. And the dead woman was lying. Did you know? Bridget asked. Her voice was smaller now. This whole time since I got here, did you know? 3 days. I have known for 3 days. And you let me pick rooms. I wanted to see if you would tell me yourself. You did not. That one hit bone. Her eyes went wet. Not crying. Wetter than dry. Drier than tears. The place between pride and collapse, where people live when they are not ready to admit they were wrong, but can no longer pretend they were right. She lied to both of us, Bridget said. Yes, to both of us. Yes. Bridget picked up her letter. My letter. The bank receipts. Held all of them in her hands like a collection of maps that led to different places but started from the same wrong address. What do we do now? She asked. Now? I said. We call Warren. Her head came up fast. Warren. Not Dad. Not Father. Warren. A name she had not heard me say in years. A name that, until 3 days ago, I had kept filed under people who left and do not get to come back. Why? She said. Because he has the rest of the story. And because your letter is not the only one Mama wrote. And mine is not the only one she hid. Bridget looked at the hole in the bathroom wall, visible from where we sat. The cardboard was gone now, just an opening. Dark behind it. Empty. How many letters are there? She asked. That, I said, is exactly the right question. The video call took 40 minutes to set up, because Warren did not know how to turn on his camera, and Bridget kept losing the connection from the guest room upstairs. By the time all 3 of us were on screen, it was past 9 at night, and nobody was pretending this was casual. Warren sat in what looked like a home office. Wood paneling, a lamp with a green glass shade. Behind him, a framed photo of a lake that could have been anywhere. Phyllis was not visible. But her presence was there in the way the room was tidy, the way a glass of water had been placed just inside his reach. Bridget sat cross-legged on the guest room bed. She had pulled her hair back, and her eyes were swollen. Not from crying, but from the kind of exhaustion that comes from spending an entire afternoon rethinking your life. Jack was asleep behind her. Lily was at the neighbor's. My laptop was propped on the kitchen table. Same table where the envelope had been opened 6 hours ago. The receipts were still there, spread out like evidence in a trial that had no judge. Great, Bridget said, looking at the screen. Family therapy via video call. We are very modern. Nobody laughed. But the line cracked something open. Warren, I said. Bridget knows about the down payment. She knows about the letter in the wall. She knows Mama told each of us a different story. What she does not know is what you told me on the phone Tuesday night. About Bridget's money. Warren closed his eyes, opened them, the gesture of a man who had been carrying a suitcase for 22 years and was about to set it down in front of the two people it belonged to. Bridget, he said, I sent your mother money every month, not just for the house. For you, Bridget blinked. What do you mean? For me? After the divorce, your mother and I agreed that I would send support for both of you. The house payment went into the mortgage account. Your portion went into your mother's personal account. She used it for your school supplies, your dance classes, your car insurance when you turned 16. She told you it was her savings, money she had set aside. It was not her savings. No. It was mine. Bridget stared at the screen. Not at Warren, at the space around him, the wood paneling, the green lamp, the glass of water. She was looking at the room of a man she had spent 20 years believing had vanished, and she was realizing he had been there the whole time, present in every dollar she thought her mother had earned alone, invisible in the way her mother had designed him to be invisible. Every month, Bridget said, every month. For how long? Until your mother passed. That is 16 years. Yes. Bridget pressed her palms against her eyes. Not crying. Holding something in. The kind of pressure that happens when the version of your life you have been narrating to yourself suddenly requires a complete rewrite. So Mama did not do it alone, she said. No, Warren said. She did not. And I did not do it alone. No. And Ren did not do it alone. No. 3 no's. 3 stories. 3 daughters and 1 father who had been paying his debt in silence, while the woman who collected it told everyone she was doing it by herself. How much of our lives was real? Bridget asked. The question was aimed at the screen, but it was meant for something larger, something that could not answer back. Warren rubbed his face. The love was real. Your mother loved you both more than anything in her life. That part was never a lie. The money was real too, I said, and the silence, and the letters, and the version of you she gave each of us, those were also real. Warren flinched. He deserved to. Not because he was the villain. He was not. He was a man who had done one terrible thing 22 years ago, and spent every day since paying for it in the currency his ex-wife had chosen. But deserving sympathy and deserving a flinch are not mutually exclusive. He had kept the secret too. He had watched his daughters grow up believing a story he knew was false, and he had said nothing. Birthday after birthday, year after year, because a dead woman had asked him not to, and because his guilt was louder than his courage. The call ended with no resolution. No hugs, no promises. Just 3 people on 3 screens in 3 different rooms, each one holding a piece of a truth that only made sense when you put all 3 pieces together. Bridget closed her laptop and went to bed without saying goodnight. Warren said, I love you girls. And I said, good night, Warren, which was not the same thing as saying it back, but was more than I had given him in a decade. The kitchen was dark. The receipts were still on the table. The envelope was empty now. Just a shell. A container for a truth that had spilled out and could not be put back. Irwin's truck pulled into the driveway at 10:15. He did not text first. He just showed up. Carpenter's instinct. He found me on the front porch, sitting on the steps. No jacket. The night was cool for April. The kind of cool that makes you aware of your own skin. How bad? He asked, sitting next to me. Not touching. Just close. My mother paid for part of the house. My father paid my mother. My sister got money from my father through my mother. Nobody told anybody the truth. and the woman who arranged all of it has been dead for 8 years. Erwin took this in. He had the gift of silence, the kind that does not rush to fill itself with words. He sat with the information the way he sat with a piece of wood before cutting, measuring, considering. "She is wrong about the rooms," he said finally. "I know, but she is not wrong about you." That stopped me. "What does that mean?" "You use this house like armor, Wren. Every cent mine. Every pipe, every faucet, every tile. You built a wall out of mortgage payments and you stand behind it. And armor is great." He paused. "Until you cannot take it off." Something cracked. Not broke. Cracked. The way a foundation cracks before it either heals or splits. A sound below language, deep in the framing of who I thought I was. "She said Mama promised her the house," I whispered. She believed it. "Did your mama promise you the house?" "She said every cent was mine." Same thing. Different version. He was right. Both daughters had been given a key by the same locksmith. Both keys were cut wrong, and both of us had spent years trying to open the same door with tools that did not fit. Erwin put his hand on the porch, step between us. Not on my hand, next to it. A carpenter's offer. Steady wood in a shaking frame. The porch light buzzed above us. The one I had wired myself. Still worked. Some things I had built were real. Not all of them. But some. That would have to be enough for tonight. Friday morning. The last morning things could stay the way they were. Bridget was sitting at the kitchen table when I came downstairs. No pancakes this time. No orange juice from the carton. Just her, a glass of water, and the look of someone who had slept badly and woken up worse. The kids were at June's again. Bridget had called her at 7:30, voice steady, and said, "Could you take them for a few hours? My sister and I need to talk. My sister and I need to talk." 5 words that carried more weight than anything our mother had ever written. I sat across from her. The table between us was bare except for the glass in my hands, folded, the way you fold them when you are about to say something you have been building toward for days. "Here is what is going to happen," I said. Bridget's chin lifted. Defensive. Ready. "First, you have 30 days. That is not a punishment. That is a timeline. In those 30 days, I will help you find a place. I will drive you to viewings. I will co-sign if you need it. But in 30 days, you and the kids move into something that is yours. I cannot afford Durham on my own. We will figure that out together." She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. "Second," I said. "Mama's name does not get used as leverage. Not in this house, not between us, not ever again. She made promises she had no authority to make with money that was not hers. Whatever she told you, whatever she wrote, whatever she whispered, it is done. Her words do not get to furnish rooms in my house anymore." Bridget's face tightened. The ESFJ in her, the one who organized and remembered and cataloged every family tradition like sacred text, could not accept this easily. Our mother's words had been her compass. Without them, she was standing in a field with no map. "And third," I said, "if you want a relationship with me, a real one, it starts with you walking through that door because you want to see me. Not because you need a roof. Not because Mama told you to. Because you, Bridget Calloway, chose to show up. That is the only version of sisterhood I am interested in." Silence. Long and clean and uncomfortable. Then Bridget broke it the only way she knew how. With noise. "You want to talk about leverage?" Her voice climbed. "Mama gave you that money. Without her, you would have nothing. This house? Her money started it. Your precious mortgage? She co-signed it. You want to sit there and tell me I have no claim? She built the foundation, Wren. She built the foundation, and you just stacked bricks on top and called yourself an architect." It was a good line. Sharp. True enough to cut. The kind of sentence our mother would have been proud of. And something inside me shifted. Not snapped. The word snap implies a loss of control. This was the opposite. This was the INFJ going cold. The seer stepping behind glass. The moment where the warmth leaves the voice and what remains is precise and quiet and devastating. You are right, I said. Without Mama's money, I would have started from zero. Exactly where you are right now. I held her gaze. And you know what? I would have been fine. Because I know how to build. I have spent 15 years proving it. Can you say the same? Bridget stared at me. Her mouth was open, but nothing came out. Not because she was angry. Because the question was real, and she knew it. And the answer was no. And we both knew that too. I am not trying to hurt you, I said. My voice came back from the cold place. Warmer now, not soft. Just human. I am trying to stop being our mother. She gave us each a story. Yours was that someone would always catch you. Mine was that I never needed catching. Both stories kept us apart. Both stories were designed by a woman who could not let her children be honest with each other, because honesty was the one thing she could not control. Bridget wiped her eyes. Quick! Like she was angry at the tears for showing up uninvited. There is one more thing, I said. Wait here. The jewelry box was on the counter where it had been for 8 years. Rosewood, brass hinges. The scratch from 2006. I brought it to the table and opened it for the first time. Inside, no jewelry. None. Our mother's earrings, her pearl necklace, her anniversary bracelet. All of that had been distributed at the funeral. What remained was paper. 3 envelopes. Sealed. Addressed. 1 to Aunt Della. 1 to June, the neighbor. 1 addressed simply, "To whom it may concern." I opened the one to Aunt Della first. Read it aloud. It was a different story. In this version, the down payment came from an inheritance our mother had received from her own father. No mention of Warren. No mention of an affair. Just a mother using her family money to help her daughter. Bridget listened. Her face shifted from confusion to recognition to something close to nausea. I opened the one to the neighbor. Our mother wrote that she was embarrassed to accept charity, but did it for her girls. How many versions are there? Bridget whispered. I stopped counting at 4. I did not open the last one, the one that said, "To whom it may concern." Whatever story our mother had prepared for the general public, for posterity, for the final audience she imagined would one day care about her narrative, I did not need to read it. None of us did. I held all 3 envelopes over the table. Looked at Bridget. She looked back. And in her eyes, for the first time since she had walked through my front door with 3 suitcases and 2 children and the absolute certainty that she belonged here, I saw something that was not confidence or entitlement or fear. I saw her mother. And then I saw her see me seeing it. And then I saw her understand. We were both our mother's daughters. We had both inherited her gift for stories. The only difference was which version we had been told. I walked to the back porch. Bridget followed. The fire pit Irwin had built last summer sat in the center of the yard, ringed with stones from the hardware store on Guess Road. I dropped the envelopes in, struck a match, watched the paper catch and curl and blacken and disappear. Bridget stood next to me, close enough that her shoulder almost touched mine. Almost. Not quite. She did that to everyone, Bridget said. She could not stop telling stories. Even from the grave. The fire ate the last corner of the last envelope. Ash floated up, caught the wind. Gone. Are we going to be okay? Bridget asked. The honest answer was, I do not know. The mother answer, the Loretta answer, would have been, of course, sweetheart. The Wren answer, the one that had been forming inside me since I pulled a manila envelope from a bathroom wall, was something in between. I do not know, I said. But I know this. The next story we tell about this family is ours, not hers. The fire pit smoked. The ash settled. And for the first time in a week, the house behind us was just a house. Wood and nails and plaster and 15 years of payments. Nothing hidden in the walls. Nothing promised from the grave. Just rooms. Just rooms that needed deciding what to do with. 30 days is not a long time. It is not enough to heal anything, but it is enough to start. Bridget found an apartment on the second floor of a converted house off West Club Boulevard. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen the size of a closet, and a porch that overlooked a parking lot. It was not beautiful. It was not big, but her name was on the lease. Her name and nobody else's. Moving day was a Saturday. Erwin brought his truck. June brought sandwiches. Lily carried a box labeled "My Stuff" in crayon letters. Jack carried a stuffed rabbit and refused to put it down for any reason, including going to the bathroom. There was not much to move. 3 suitcases had become 4 boxes, a second-hand dresser from the Habitat Restore, and a set of dishes Bridget bought at the Tuesday Morning on 9th Street. She stood in the empty living room of her new apartment and turned in a slow circle, arms at her sides, like a woman trying to figure out if she fit inside her own life. "It is small," she said. "It is yours," I said. "That is the difference." She looked at me. Something passed between us that was not forgiveness, and not anger, and not love, exactly, but something older than all 3. Recognition, the look of 2 people who had survived the same house and were only now learning they had been living in different versions of it. Back at my place, alone for the first time in a month, I walked through the rooms. Guest room. Stripped. Bridget had made the bed before she left. Hospital corners, the way our mother taught us both. The towels were folded on the dresser. The closet was empty, except for one hanger she had forgotten, still holding the shape of something that was no longer there. The bathroom was finished. Erwin had helped me lay the new tile the week before, a warm slate gray that looked nothing like the dentist office green it replaced. The wall was smooth. Plastered, sanded, primed, painted. No hole, no cardboard, no envelope. Just a wall doing what a wall is supposed to do, holding things up without hiding anything inside. I stood in front of it for a minute, pressed my palm flat against the surface, still cool from the paint. Solid, clean. Then I went to the living room and took down the photograph. The one of our mother that had hung above the bookshelf since the day I moved in. Loretta Calloway, 43, standing in the backyard of this very house, holding a glass of lemonade and smiling at whoever held the camera. She looked happy. She looked kind. She looked like a woman who would never hide an envelope in a wall or write 4 different versions of the truth to 4 different people. The nail stayed. The frame went into a closet. In its place, I hung a photograph I had found in a shoebox in the attic 2 weeks earlier, while looking for something else entirely. 2 girls on a porch. Wren, maybe 6. Bridget, maybe 3. And behind us, slightly out of focus, a man with rolled-up sleeves and a sunburn on his nose, one hand on each daughter's shoulder. Warren. Before everything. Before the affair and the silence and the letters and the 22 years of checks written to a woman who would never let him be seen, the photograph was not perfect. It was slightly overexposed, and someone had folded the corner at some point. But everyone in it was real. No versions, no arrangements, just a family standing on a porch, not yet knowing what they would do to each other. I left it there. Crooked, the way old photographs tend to hang. Erwin would straighten it, eventually. He straightened things. That evening, Bridget came back. Not with suitcases. Not with children. Just her, alone, knocking on the front door like a guest, which she was now, which she should have been from the beginning. We sat on the porch, 2 chairs, 2 coffees. The oak tree threw shadows across the yard. "Are you angry at me?" Bridget asked. "I am angry at Mama. With you, I am just tired." She nodded. Sipped her coffee. "The apartment has a leak in the bathroom," she said. "Under the sink. I will come look at it tomorrow." "You do not have to." "I know. I will come anyway. A small thing. A leak under a sink. The kind of problem that is easy to fix if you know how, and impossible if you do not." Bridget did not know how. She had never had to. Our mother had made sure of that, the same way she had made sure I never had to ask for help. 2 daughters, 2 cages, both disguised as gifts. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a key. Brass. New. Cut that afternoon at the hardware store on Guess Road. Spare key, I said, for your apartment, in case you lock yourself out. Bridget took it, held it in her palm, looked at it the way you look at something small that means something large. Thank you, she said. Do not lose it. I only made one. She closed her hand around the key, put it in her jacket pocket, zipped it shut. And for the first time since she had walked through my front door with 3 suitcases and 2 children, and the unshakable belief that she belonged in my house, Bridget Calloway had a key to something that was entirely her own. After she left, I sat on the porch a while longer. The coffee went cold. The streetlights came on. A couple walked past with a dog, arguing gently about whose turn it was to cook. I picked up my phone, opened a new message, typed 5 words to a number saved under Warren. I know now. Not ready to talk. Sent. In Roanoke, in a house with wood paneling and a green lamp and a wife who knew when to put the kettle on, Warren Calloway read the message. Phyllis looked at his face. The girls? She asked. He nodded. He did not reply. He set the phone on the table and looked out the window at a sky that was the same sky his daughters were sitting under, 4 hours south, in a house he had helped pay for and was never allowed to claim. On my porch, the phone stayed dark. No reply. That was fine. Some conversations do not need an answer. They just need to be sent. The house was quiet. Same roof, same porch, same steps I had rebuilt with Irwin last spring. Inside, the walls were painted, and the tile was new, and the photograph above the bookshelf had 3 people in it, instead of 1. Nothing hidden. Nothing promised. Nothing owed. If you have ever lived in a house built on someone else's truth and rebuilt it into your own, you know. You know exactly what it costs. And you know it is worth every cent. Every cent yours. For real this time. You can pay every bill, fix every pipe, and still be standing on a foundation someone else poured without telling you. That does not make your work less real. It makes the truth more complicated than the story you were told. If someone in your family controlled the narrative, decided who knew what and when, and called it love, you are not alone. And if you have ever discovered that the person who sacrificed the most was also the person who lied the most, you know that grief and anger can share the same chair. Here is what matters. You are allowed to tear down the wall. You are allowed to read what is hidden there. And you are allowed to burn the versions that were never yours to carry. Have you ever rebuilt a relationship after discovering it was built on someone else's terms? What did it cost you, and what did you find underneath?
Thank you for being part of Lyra Echo Stories. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because every echo never truly fades.